eyes full of hunchbacks. Bitch, just keep a bitchin'. Clap just keeps a itchin'. Ain't no use in playing. That's the way staying, baby. Johnny is so crazy. Johnny's got a knife for the needle. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Get your rocks up, honey. Shake 'em now, now. Get 'em up downtown. Get your rocks up, honey. Shake 'em now, now. Get 'em up downtown. Creeps to keep it crawling, drums to keep it falling, teasers keep it teasing, holy Joe's a preaching, cops to keep it busting, hustlers keep a hustling, death that keeps a knocking, souls are up for auction, ain't no use in playing, that's the way staying, baby. Johnny is so crazy, Tom's got a knife for the lady. Get your rocks off, honey. Shake 'em now, now. Get 'em up downtown. Get your rocks off, honey. Shake 'em now, now. Get 'em up downtown. Get your rocks off, honey. Shake 'em now, now. Get 'em up downtown. Get your rocks off, honey. Shake 'em now, now. Get 'em up downtown. Get your rocks off, honey. Shake 'em now, now. Get 'em up downtown. Get your rocks off.
On mute. Welcome to the live LUF Lounge. Welcome.
Welcome to the live LUF Lounge.
The beautiful Emma Daggers.
And this is Peter Yarwood.
And we have an awesome lineup of guests for you tonight. I'm just going to unmute them all.
And they can just go rebel hard.
Hey!
A lot of you.
They can just go stir crazy mental. Welcome to the live LUF Lounge.
Live
people.
and direct.
What a
How do?
tonight, Emma.
How do?
I'll feel you up so well. It's so good to see you all. People.
You know,
your hair's getting a bit. Oh God.
Are we starting this early? We're starting this early.
It's getting a bit long.
Well, I think your hair is beautiful. I like greyness. That you are flossing.
Yes.
I do genuinely think you can rock it.
I know. Awesome. It's called a spiritual awakening.
I love it.
COVID.
Only you could floss that grey, apart from me. Only you, apart from me, could floss grey to that level. I love it, baby. And the glasses.
Yeah, new
Get
glasses.
a room.
Yeah, new glasses. So it was like, woo! You know, when you put them on, like everything needs cleaning.
Seriously.
Everything
That's not a joke.
all the windows need cleaning. It's like, oh God,
That's mad.
Months.
So
it's called age, darling.
Because you know that's like we're inviting people into our living room, aren't we? It's not just the live LUF Lounge; it's also our living room, and you know we're honoured to zoom straight into. And there's other streaming services, but we're coming straight live and direct
into your living room.
Worlds.
So we're hoping to drop some hope into your worlds.
Yeah, you know, and we recognise that it's a real honour and a privilege to have you guys give time on a Saturday evening when you could be doing lots of other things to come and share your experience, your stories, you know, your time with us. So we really appreciate that, guys. Thank you.
And we love you.
You know, if we asked somebody what does the Lancashire User Forum do, what does it stand for? What do you think they'd say?
I believe it is something else now, but what what it was before was a space for people to come together, whether they be from the drug using community, the recovery community, the professional careers, education, training, family members. It was a space that was created to bring people together. And I believe that now is the time for leadership. We're in unprecedented times. That word grates on me, by the way. Yeah. But we are, so it's time for, to shake shit up a bit. Things are things are changing, aren't they?
It's time to rise up.
Rise up, soldiers.
Again.
It is leadership.
Shoulder to shoulder.
It is. It really is. And that is the agenda item tonight. Shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah. I'm getting excited.
Yeah, good.
I'm trying to hold it down though, because
he sits right next to me and shouts a lot.
Do you know, I'm going to land this though. I was having a conversation with someone and he gave a beautiful quote, and the quote goes along the lines of, it's amazing what we can accomplish if you're not bothered about who takes the credit for it. And I just think it's a lovely concept for us in the Lancashire User Forum to catch a hold of and say, it's amazing what we can accomplish and we're not bothered who takes the credit for it. The other thing that people say about the Lancashire User Forum is it's unpredictable. There was 3 words, weren't there?
Yeah, and you're looking at me with that look that says, please help me out.
Please
I forgot the other 2 words.
But they'll come, but it might be later on this evening.
Interesting, unpredictable.
And it was...
we'll get back to you.
We'll get back to you on that. Might have been relevant.
I've got loads.
Yeah, go on, Phil. Give us a few. Just throw
Resilience is brilliant.
Yes.
That's one, because people are bouncing back.
And you know what?
Mavericks leading Mavericks.
Everyone is welcome. You know what? Everybody is welcome. Whether you're mad in the madness, in chaos. And we've always been called a little bit unmanageable, but you can't manage chaos, can you?
Well, what we wanted to accomplish was, you're right, a space where everybody, first and foremost, when they arrive, they let out a sigh and go, I feel like I belong. I'm not going to be judged. I'm not going to be diagnosed. I'm just going to be accepted. And that's I think we create that space, don't we? Everybody is welcome. And on
a different platform now, though, and reaching a lot more people. So if you've got any comments, because we're going to get through some stuff tonight, you need to like, share, and put in the comments box. And we've got Glenn. Just give a wave, Glenn. He's going to be checking that out, checking the comments out.
Why would I share it? I can't be bothered hitting the share button. What if someone's thinking that? Why should I share this, Emma Daggers?
Because if you sat out there and you are feeling like you've got no hope and you're in a hopeless situation, this is like your connection. We can connect you to other people that have a little bit of hope.
All right. Thank you very much.
Right, great. I love you anyway. Get well soon.
Well, it might be that other people aren't, and I'll tell you why. Because it's Mental Health Week, and lots of people struggle in isolation on their own. So if you're well and fine, that's great. Give a little bit to someone else. That's why we want you to hit the like and share button. I'm not really interested if you hit the like, but hit the share button. We'd love you to.
Should we crack on?
Yeah.
We've got quite a lot to get through, haven't we?
No, and I can talk to Farah for donkey's ears. I've already sick of the sound of my own voice.
Okay, so let's do introductions.
With that, over to you to introduce the first guest. I see I got it in there. Over to you.
Phil!
Hey, in the red corner.
In the red corner, yes. Who are you and where are you from, love?
I'm Phil Evans from Burnley. Born and inbred. Lifelong member. I'd like to think of RRose ever since I was introduced to you guys and what you did. It was buzzing just hearing you talking about stuff because it's been a while since I've seen you. But yeah, the what do you call it? The energy, the unpredictability, etc. It wasn't. That's why it works for so many people, because it is all encompassing. You do encourage people to shine. You see the best in people. loads of good Red Rose stuff, especially around here in Burnley. I know you guys are based in Preston, aren't you? The headquarters.
Sounds like
Preston,
you're introducing us, mate.
All right.
Well, hold on to that for.
Here they are.
We'll come back to you very, very soon, man.
Is that a wedding ring
cool.
on your finger, Phil?
Oh yeah.
Oh
Married.
my God! Are you married?
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, just before COVID as well. It's February.
Goodness. I said you look so well.
All right.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, got someone cooking my meals.
I didn't want to crack that champagne, so but we will come back to you because there's a lot more.
Cool.
And Phil's our artist, our resident artist this week, and he's going to share with us spoken word, some poetry. So we'll come back to you shortly, Phil. Thank you. Karen.
Hello.
Hi, Karen, with a cat in the background.
Yeah, hi. Is this my cue?
This is your introduction, yeah.
Okay, hi. Sorry? Just an intro, yeah, just an intro. Yeah. Okay, first time on, and I have seen how you work, and I agree with Phil. The energy and the dynamic that the last LUF Lounge that I looked at, it was amazing. The ideas, the support, the creativity, and I only went to go on it for a few minutes, and I watched the whole thing from start to finish, and it was like, wow, this is brilliant. So thank you for letting me come on. Who am I? Yes, my banner in the background tells you about my work that I do, which stands for Child Sexual Exploitation Awareness Training. And that's the training that I do. And the sexual exploitation isn't just defined to that, because as you can imagine, it links to so many other things: county lines, human trafficking, exploitation, criminal exploitation of young people, safeguarding, a whole range of things. More of my work later. I'm an ex-youth worker. I worked with Lancashire County Council for 26 years. I've worked in specific areas of study, specialist study in CSE, that's your child sexual exploitation and more. And I'm out and about really, getting to know people and how I can work with people, professionals, volunteers, agencies, whatever. Oh yeah, and my name is Karen Livesey. I knew there's something I'd forgotten.
Welcome, Karen Livesey.
Hello, thank you.
Welcome to the LUF Lounge.
And we've got Nicola Crompton-Hill.
Nicola Crompton in the house.
Shout out Nicky Crompton-Hill.
Nicky, that's Nicola Crompton-Hill.
The one and only.
Double barrel.
Pete, you never fail. Yeah, my name's Nicola. I'm representing tonight here on the LUF Lounge. I'm absolutely privileged to be here. It's absolutely brilliant. And I think I saw you the other week, Emma, on the LUF Lounge saying how brave it was that you've done this. And I absolutely think it's fantastic and completely inspiring. And I too have logged in every week to watch. So it's great to be here. And I feel privileged to be with some great people on here. So I'm here tonight to talk a little bit about partnerships and how we've worked together over the last few weeks, and basically work for the Calico group based in Burnley, Phil, and specifically representing Acorn Recovery tonight. So really excited. Can't thank you enough.
Brilliant to have you on, Nicola.
Thank you.
Shout out to the Acorn crew.
Do you know, you are a force for good, and sometimes when we're hosting some of the events and I see you there with your crew, I just draw so much love from you. It's inspiring.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you, Nick.
You're absolutely welcome. Privileged to be here.
The Acorn guys.
A big shout out to the Acorn crew.
Yeah, massive shout out to Acorn.
Absolutely. We'll get that in a few more times before we finish.
Yeah. I love the name, though, just acorns.
Oh.
Yeah, just plant them.
Plant the seeds.
Love it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So then we've got Peter Furlong. Peter Furlong's no stranger to us in the Lancashire User Forum. Hi, Pete. How are you doing?
Back again, yeah. Glad to be back. For those who don't know me, I'm representing Change, Grow, Live, work in the Northwest. And like Nicola, it's always a privilege to be here. It's great to see everyone, it's great to hear the stories. I know we're going to talk a little bit later about harm reduction again, which, as you know, is a bit of a passion of mine. Well, it's not a bit, it's a big passion of mine. And unfortunately, COVID's meant that we've had to really draw back down on it again, haven't we? And really look at it and focus on it and see what we're offering. But yeah, and Acorn as well. Just while we're talking about it, I think Acorn's amazing. I sat in on a few groups a couple of years ago. Peter Taylor arranged for me to sit in on a couple of groups in Manchester, and I was like blown away. I didn't really know what to expect, and I come out just thinking, you know what, if I needed help, I'd go to one of them groups. So yeah, Acorn are great.
Thanks, Pete.
Yeah. Okay, we've got our very own Glenn Island zigzagging around the screens. Hiya, Glenn.
Hi guys, you all right? Yeah, so so I'm Glenn. I'm team leader for RRose Recovery in Central, and you see me on the LUF Lounge most weeks. So I must stress that if I'm looking down at my phone, I'm not being rude. It's because I'm scanning the comments as it's live to get them questions into yourselves. So yeah, so I'm not being rude.
And you're watching how many people share it, aren't you?
I am, yeah. So at the minute we've got 38 viewers. Got 38 viewers.
Hi guys.
So I bet if all of them 38 viewers hit the share button, then we'd soon get some more. But I think this week we're going to pick someone out of the shares. We're going to go through who shared it and pick someone random to give them a prize this week. I've just come up with that.
Which is here.
Into account.
So what is it? What is it you're going to give them?
Right, so it's just been dropped off at present. So it's a sweet box. I don't know if you can you see that?
Well, you can if you.
Well, I don't want it to drop all out, do I?
Work it, lad.
Improvise, Glenn. Whoa.
Double dips.
So it is a competition, and whoever guesses the amount of sweets that are in that box will get it. I think that it's going to be done a bit different this week because it was hard to manage last week, as in the numbers, and because it gets shared to different sites and things like that. So this week, if you guess the number and send it to Liz at RRose, and then she'll go through the numbers and find out who's the winner is.
Should we improvise then? Because it's within our ability to do this. Should we just say, right, whoever shares, we're not bothered if you guess the number. Whoever shares, we're going to pick the winner out of the shares.
Who's picking you?
So it's not about guessing, it's about sharing.
There you go. There you go then.
Okay.
So that's
going to pick a winner out of the shares. So if you don't share it, you're not in it, and you can't win it.
I can just see everyone out there going, "Oh my God, who's going to do that?"
Well, someone will. We'll find someone to. We'll find a way, won't we?
We'll make a way.
Yeah, there's that.
Waymaker.
The only way you can enter this competition is to hit that share button.
Glenn, did we get the sweets to David McCollum's daughter last week? Liz,
I'm not. She's not. She's just dropped them off now, so I'm presuming that she's posted them. Yes, so
brilliant.
I don't know whether it's got to him or not yet.
Well, we'll have an update in the comments on that, please, because two winners won it. Like you won it last week, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I gave her.
How's that work?
Well, I said, I know, right? The box was held up and I went 220, but then I typed it in as well.
Yeah.
So I did donate mine to David McCollum's daughter because her wonderful TikTok video.
So we're just checking in whether that's been done, and I think
So enjoy your sweeties, honey.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing because it's a business, isn't it? It's a social enterprise that's sprung up
out of COVID.
Yeah. And an example of the resilience our guys have got. So, Craig, welcome, Craig.
Hello, thanks for having me. My first appearance on the LUF Lounge. I'm very pleased to be here representing Liaison and Diversion for Lancashire. So we cover all the police custodies in Blackpool, Lancaster, Preston, Skelmersdale, Burnley, Blackburn, and hopefully we're a little bit of hope, I suppose, in those particular dark places when people find themselves in custody. We don't consider judgment. We just want to make sure that people feel that out of a dark space, there is always a chance they can find a way through. So hopefully I can build on that later.
Yeah. Have you? Are you in the police station now, Craig?
No, this is my dining room. So we're working socially distanced. So we're kind of working between home, try to do as much of the paperwork from home, but still managing to get some face-to-face contact with our service users in police custody. So I've been there today, and I've come back here to meet you guys. You're wonderful people.
Welcome.
You'll have to forgive if there's any noise in the background, because there's an 8-year-old, a dog, 2 cats, and a lady cooking. So it might get a little bit noisy at some point.
Invite them in.
Do you know, it's great to have you on the lounge tonight, and you're one of our guys on the inside, aren't you, Craig? You're our inside man.
Yeah, man.
Amongst others, there's any number of my colleagues that could easily have spoken here today. They're all as enthusiastic about supporting individuals as I am.
And often you catch them at their most vulnerable. So we'll hear a bit more about that, will we, Craig? Yeah?
Thank you. Yeah, happy to talk about it.
Cool.
Okay, and we've got very patiently waiting, James Mccabe. Welcome, James. Tell us who you are.
You all right, guys? I am the chair of the Lancashire User Forum for East. Also a support worker for the Challenge for Sport initiative. And yeah, I'm involved with Night Safe in Blackburn as well, volunteering. So yeah, I live in Accrington. That's about it, really. Not much else to say as an introduction.
You can share your story with us on the agenda, aren't you?
Yeah. So this is my first live lounge, but obviously I've got experience of the physical experience of a LUF.
The real life LUF.
Yeah.
The real life people LUF.
This might be easier because I can just pretend that I'm talking to you 6 and no one else.
Yeah. You know, it's like Nicola said before, we made a brave move. It was bold stepping out on a digital platform. We didn't really know what we were doing, did we?
I did.
Yeah.
She's speaking.
You know, and it's just like, because my main message has always been unity, to unify everybody. Yeah. You know, and organisations and fellowships, and just let's all come together. So shoulder to shoulder, that's our theme.
And I think, you know, it's true to say it's a brave move because we put ourselves out there right above the parapet, you know, and sometimes that attracts in some quite weird and wonderful people.
But we love weirdos and misfits, because I class myself as one. And
obviously, I'll be right.
I just want, nice one, James, my people, my tribe. I just want to just massive shout out to the Blackpool crew, and I just want to get this in. Hi, Karen. For any of the Blackpool guys watching,
that's Karen Brown.
Karen Brown,
Delphi
as well in the house in spirit. They're redesigning the services in Blackpool. So service users, step up, come and tell us how they should design their services. It's your service. We need your voice. We need to know what you want to change. We need some wacky ideas and something different, and we need leadership. And they're wide open to suggestion. So step up, rise up. Come on.
Hit the share button, because we want these people to know that their voice can have an
Blackpool service users, come tell us your voice. And what do people need from the services? Because treatment is shape-shifting, isn't it?
So hit that share button, guys. And I'm going to be reminding you all night.
And you're going to be really irritating me, aren't you, by saying it all night?
Unless our guests remind people as well.
They're doing amazing work in Blackpool, Delphi.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some great
I love
work.
I love it. It's like CGL, Calico, Delphi, the police all in one room. Yeah. Beautiful.
Oh,
who'd have thought it?
You know, and that reminds me, you know, our first guest, Phil Evans, I just phoned him half an hour ago, and we do that regular, don't we?
Yeah.
You know, I remember the first week, Emma phoned the medical director of CGL and said, "Can you come on in 10 minutes? We're going to live stream a thing to," and you know, he went, "Yeah, sorted, no problem." You know, and that's the
Lovely.
powerful thing about having relationships with top people. I've not seen Phil for a couple of years, but prior to that, I met him, and when I found out the skills he had, because you, Phil, you weren't a shiny penny. You wasn't polished up like you are today.
The wedding ring on.
Yeah,
No,
true,
like,
true.
You was. It's Mental Health Week this week, and you know, anybody who remembers you back then will say you was like a box of frogs, weren't you? Bouncing.
Yeah, in two worlds. Well, yeah, still am, but just refined it a bit.
Yes, I can see that.
And we had a boat. We'd gone to CGL and said, "Can we have 10 grand? We're going to buy a boat." And they went, "Do one." And we said, "Wait, you haven't heard what we're going to call it. We're going to call it the LUF boat." And they just went, "How could we not support you to do something like that?"
Brilliant.
The police supported us, and the probation did as well.
That was ages ago, wasn't it?
And we had this boat, and we'd started to run poet, like we called it slam dunk poetry.
Yeah.
And if you go on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, you'd be able to see Phil and a few of the other guys. It was all at various different stages.
Yeah.
I'm the storyteller.
No, let Phil tell us.
Well, it was Pete's baby, that wasn't it? It was Red Rose's. Kurt's, yeah. See, I didn't
give him a bed in heaven.
Yeah. Salute you.
Yeah.
Force for good.
And did he call it Chrysalis as well?
Well, it was called Chrysalis, but here's the thing. When he come with that idea, everyone said it's never going to happen. And you know, we used to have this saying, we're going to take the T off can't. Don't tell us what we can't do. Let's have a conversation about what we can do. And we did it, you know, and that boat was stripped to a shell. And
it sunk.
A bit like what happens in Acorn. They will strip you down, they will break you down and then build you back up.
Good analogy, that, yeah.
You know, and you were one of the guys who come through. And I remember we used to have the police, the Revolution Squad, come in and introducing.
It was just it was good.
Someone's just rang the doorbell.
Someone's rang the doorbell. Who's knocking on the door at the bottom of the screen here? We'll see.
There's somebody at the door.
It might be the not so sinister minister.
It might be, but it might
stop
not be.
clicking buttons, Emma.
Sorry. Stop shouting.
Well, you know, do you know about this technology? I do. I've spent a lot of time working it out. Clicking buttons. We have got someone who's in.
Show yourselves.
Show who you are. Who's just dropped in?
It's me, Pete.
Oh!
What the weather?
We can't.
Hang on.
We need to see the cool, not so sinister minister.
Hang on. Is that it?
I love this guy.
It's like the voice. It's like the voice of the angel Gabriel. Don't know where it's
coming from. Hang on, bear with me.
Right, well, you have a play with it, mate, because while you're having a play around, we'll carry on with the introduction. Making a start. So Phil, I was saying we had the Revolution Squad dropping them off at this end, and we just take them through the boat, through experiences, and you were one guy who come through that.
Wow,
today,
God.
You look a different man.
I know.
Excellent, yeah, cheers.
Testimony to strong partnerships, because that you didn't get there.
Individuals as
you
well.
didn't get there on your own, though, did you?
No, totally. So Red Rose, CGL. I didn't partake with Acorn, but I totally respected what they're doing. I say in Burnley, the amount of people. Some have come through like deep a couple of times, but yeah, stripping them down because they needed that, building them up. There's one woman, I call her a guru, can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I heard the assertiveness, the confidence in her voice grow, you know, because she was attending groups at CGL initially and outside having a cig. If you'd have said, "Can't, should we go to the pub?" she'd have gone to the pub. You know, and that happened a while, but then after a couple of months, you could hear something in her voice, and with that, people stopped sort of, you know, trying to lead her astray, etc. And I've seen that a lot, you know. So, but yeah, tapping into all the different groups that are available. That's why LUF is it's genius, because it does get everyone together on an even par. So, you know, people like the police, people like Calico can come in, see what's going on, see what they can offer, and what they can take from it. So, yeah, long live LUF.
Because ultimately it is about the individual, isn't it? Ultimately,
yeah, of course.
Take your hats off at the door, leave the corporate work, come in as people.
People make the difference, don't they?
People make the difference, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And just coming together as one.
Okay.
What's best for that individual.
Okay, Phil.
Thanks, Phil.
Take it away. You're going to share some spoken word poetry, is that right?
Oh yeah. All right.
Hey!
So this is the first time I will have performed like this on a live stream. I've got one to do later, which, you know, I've got to mention. It's a celebration of a mate who passed away just last week. It's, you know, it's a bit sad because he took his own life. So we're gonna, a few old college friends, we're coming together and we're going to celebrate his life. But the reason why I wanted to mention that was because I've got a track that I'm going to do. I'm just going to do two pieces because I know you've got a lot of people to cram in. So one is for Ascended Friends. I'll do that first. And this is weird doing it in my extension.
Use it as your playground, Phil. Enjoy.
Right, here goes. From beyond, back home, we belong and long to boldly go. Guided through mind where time bears no hold, where inner actions achieve outer goals. From sleepwalking, by a slowly awaking, we realise, responding with re-education, realigning macro trees with micro seeds. Your latter shoots to former roots respect, then karma of our cosmos calls to collect. JD, ETA, 2012 AD, JC, OTL to return next century. And I bet you reckon prophecies beckon us all to fulfill, still full on souls follow their own pathways as we have and always will. Chill, graduate 360 degrees, remain still. Say what you see, know how you feel, this is real now. Accelerate, great speed, great tube, go through. All anti-truth sinks along with your 3D point of view. And who you are is as far as it goes. Till the next time, nobody knows. Yeah, thank you. So that was some originally. Yeah, and so the next one, I was going to do a track that I did initially in front of you, Pete, on the LUF boat back in the day, Soul Pirates, but it's a bit too long, so I'm going to do a different one. It's a bit strange, but bear with it. I like to think that I communicate to your psyche and subconsciousness rather than the ego. So you won't get everything. It doesn't matter. No one ever does. Wakey, wakey, matey, rise and shine. Coming from the cold, cause wars are for soldiers. And besides, battling with me, bit like a butt in a bulldozer, I told you. You better maintain composure, cause there's always gonna be a bigger fight. And you can run, but you can never hide. Cause when it comes to living your life, this time it just might be do or die. So be ready, cause only you can decide. Yo. Whether you're uber shy or a super fly kind of guy or girl, a friendly stranger, neighbour or raver, ride the tidal wave. Be brave enough to save yourself, because if all else fails and you can't help save the world, take my advice like it's diamonds and pearls, and you're an irate pirate radio station, playing your position like it's been a waiting game, just hoping, wishing and praying that all this anticipation isn't in vain, because when the rainy day on a mission this way comes to wash away the pain, as they say, and prophesy as I hijack a cliche, paraphrase a metaphor and press record, perfectly preserving my perverse thoughts forevermore, till all rights to serve have been reserved and all curses reversed back to blessings in disguise, like angels at first glance despised. And when asked why, in rhyme came the reply, because it looked like they had devil's eyes. Nowadays, I don't advocate telling lies, but so many messengers have died just trying to survive that happen. I reckon it has to be better to thrive by taking dives, backdating your claim to make it look like you fake your own suicide. Anyway, rise up my cats, but wise up my people, because this evening is the season to be for a cause. I never thought that the reason was obvious. And of course, this All for One manifesto won't work unless we work it once and for all. Though I know not everybody's perfect sense of direction is set on ascension. Seekers, truthers, heathen, freemen even, reminds me of a scene in the avant-garde of Eden, where the danger of evil that used to lurk beneath the surface is now branching out in broad day in search of common purpose. And even though Eve, the dictees, nearly realised and released the beast, Adam and Adam would much rather just observe and perceive, living on in relatively undisturbed bliss and peace, than risk being born again and again in breach. And so it is, as in it came to pass, I suppose, that the original sin of the father was in treating them both like chess pieces, yo. This ain't my thesis, though. Neither was it either my intention to preach or even try to play the teacher role, keeping you all waiting late in detention, or better yet, pretentious director holding your disbelieving souls in willing suspension. No, listen, I'm the smaller to the lager as real ale is to the whole, and barcodes are better than silver, but not gold, bitch. You can kiss my arse. I said the goldfish is the grass because the cat in the hat was only having a laugh. What's up with that? Party people hear me roar to the core like never before. I'm just letting you know, whether you take any notice of me though, as we go from R to Ra, getting agitated to giving Jah thanks and praises, awkward to all good in other hood blood bruv, but if you ain't raising your vibration, then basically guff, you're caught in free fall and caught in having your mission aborted. That's all, kids. Thank you. And this.
Thanks, mate.
Fabulous.
Wow. Yeah,
Thanks for sharing your words with us, Phil. I like to think all us women have an Eve inside us, and we need to make friends with her.
Yeah, that was.
We all have an Eve, you know, and it's like, really, girls, the fruit that good, but you know, we've all got an Eve. So yeah, I get you.
There's a few things in that. I don't know if I should go into it. But,
no, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, great.
Yeah, some of that's percolating.
Yeah.
You know,
that's yeah.
So
that's
if you're, because other people really dig this spoken word poetry, if they wanted you to come and perform or do a set.
Yeah. So I was hoping. I will hope to get in touch with Nicola, with Calico, because I do workshops myself. I've got one with Building Bridges from Bridfield and Nelson next month. Obviously, things are on hold with COVID. I normally volunteer at the upstairs in the library at Burnley on a Thursday, so I run creative workshops there. As Mick will know, Brad Reynolds is my best mate. He's the guy who's he's come through recovery, and honestly, his lyrics are amazing because he's found God, he's recovered, and he's passing his message on, and it's a beautiful thing. And he's working alongside Mickey there. So,
yes,
yeah.
Mickey in the house, backed by popular demand, darling.
Oh, beautiful.
So okay.
Have you got a smoking jacket on?
No, I've got a tracksuit on.
You look like you had a smoking jacket on.
Phil, you're welcome to drop back in. We'll be here till 6:37. So you're welcome.
Sound.
Really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, it's great to see us. Great to see you all.
Get on with it.
Phil, get in touch. Phil, get in touch. We'd love to have you. One of my colleagues has just messaged me saying we want you at Bank Parade in Burnley.
Brilliant.
Come in.
Brilliant.
Can I just come in?
Fantastic.
Can I just come in? Well done, Phil. So Stacey Garvin, big shout out to Stacey. She's put brilliant. Well done, Phil.
This.
Our own Lynn Sutter's watching, saying amazing.
Yes, Lynn.
So shout out to Lynn.
Darling. I love you.
So yeah, well done, mate.
Nice one. Cheers, Glenn. Cheers, everyone.
Thanks, Phil. Good to see you.
I am sorry, but I've got to go, and I will bob back in.
Yeah, mate.
Take
We'll
care,
see you
love.
soon.
Love
Yeah.
you.
Stay
All
blessed.
right. Have a good good chat. See you soon.
See you soon. We've got to get on with the agenda, haven't we? Are you cross at me?
No.
Am I shouting?
Yeah.
Have I done something wrong?
No.
Because I have to live in this household, so I want it to be harmonious, don't I?
Yeah, we don't want. Yeah.
We don't want it kicking off live on air, do we?
No.
Okay. Mick rang the doorbell and came in halfway through that.
But God, you know, if we've got a God's move and we've got a God's spot, then it's got to be Mick. It's got to be Mick. We've got to just like open the floor for Mick. He's rang the bell.
Yeah, Mick,
Ding
you're
dong.
always welcome and in our LUF Lounge, and we would like you to come back every week for a 10-minute slot just to give us your word for the week, your thought on the week. Bit like they do on Radio 4, we want to have the same on the LUF Lounge. Yeah.
Radio 4's an old. Is that not like an old
Radio
person?
4's happening. That's where it's at. Radio 4's where it's at. Let me tell you that. So it's good enough for them. It's good enough for us, Mick, and we want you as our not so sinister resident minister.
Yes.
Phil, I can also spit a few bars when I try. Okay. So we'll be coming back to you shortly, Mick, if that's all right.
Okay, that'd be great. Okay.
James.
Swipe over to James, who's going to set us off with his story, and then we're going to get into the guest of panels. So James Mccabe, over to you, mate, and thanks for sharing your story.
Yeah, thanks, Peter, Emma, for asking me to do this, and thanks for that poem, them poems, even. Yeah, I enjoyed listening to that. Yeah, so obviously, I was asked to do this. I thought about, you know, obviously we've all heard like a similar story of using and, you know, what people call war stories and stuff like that. But so I guess I don't really want to dwell on that or talk too much about that. But for me, the place it brought me to is the place that matters, because that was the time that made me decide that I needed to change. So, you know, I got to a point where for a number of years I was, you know, I had low self-esteem to start with, and then I tried to fill it with drugs, and then the hole got bigger until I ended up living in the hole. It enveloped me, you know, and yeah, I became, I guess, disconnected from my family, even though I was still around them. I was disconnected from my family, disconnected from my friends, because I did and still do have some lifelong friends that stood by me through all of it as well, through my addiction and now my recovery. So, you know, but all that love was there, but I couldn't feel it. I couldn't connect with it, and I couldn't be a part of it, because I felt I don't know if I consciously felt like I didn't deserve it, but I just felt inadequate and insignificant around most people, really, whether it be in work, around friends who were sort of same age or younger than me, and, you know, they were houses, kids, or, you know, their lives were going in a certain direction. And obviously gradually more and more I started to spend less and less time with them positive influences in my life, disconnected from them, and then spending time with people who were in that same hopeless place that I was, and people I didn't even have anything in common with. And then I could be in a room full of people, but I'd have no identity with any of them apart from the fact that I was in pain and I couldn't stop using drugs. Yeah, so, and eventually I got to a point where I tried to take my own life, and I failed, and it was that failure that was the catalyst for change. And it was still the day after that I got in touch with services for the first time, because, you know, I realised I needed help then. Obviously it humbled me a bit, having got to that point, but it still took me a year to actually get into rehab, because I still couldn't stop using, even though I knew I were at the end of the road and I was on my knees. I still couldn't stop using. You know, tried Subutex, tried methadone, wasn't really in it, didn't really work, and eventually I managed to get them to send me to rehab. And I went to a rehab in St Anne's called Shardale. I spent some time there as a resident and then as a volunteer, and it gave me that space. It gave me safety. It gave me the chance to look at a lot of stuff. And, I came out of there in a much better way than I was when I went in. Much better way. But I still thought, so I'd gone back to that ego and thinking I knew best and thinking that, I didn't need to. So I'd look at like things like the LUF and things like going to like meetings, recovery meetings like NA and stuff. And I'd be like, no, I'm not doing that for the rest of my life. No, I wanna get a job, get on with my life and become like this productive member of the society. I don't need to be hanging around with other people who've been through what I've been through, because I thought, I'm past it and all that, and I thought I didn't need that in my life. So at the time, all I was doing was playing football and a bit of volunteering with the Challenge Through Sport initiative. And apart from that, I had no connections in recovery, no real recovery, I suppose. So I got the job. The manager of the house that I was working in, it was a house for a place for autistic adults, residential, and the manager of the house knew my history and was happy and wanted me to work there. So I accepted the offer. But then when my paperwork and my DBS went to head office said nah. And because I hadn't surrounded myself with the right recovery and the right people, and I built my self-esteem, that just completely floored me. And not long after that, I started to looking in, like fixing on stuff. I started seeing somebody that wasn't really right for me. I've done it out of need, not out of want, and that was difficult. And I had problems with her, which then another thing on the self-esteem. And yeah, I started and I was fixed. It was sort of like eating lots and lots of food, which probably people can identify with, and then eventually alcohol, and then it was drugs again, and then I went back out for within a couple of weeks of having that alcohol, I was back on the brown and the white, and then within a couple of weeks of doing that for the first time, I was back on it daily. So that whole thing lasted for about 4 months, and I never got to rock bottom again though, because I seen it on the horizon, and I thought I can't go back to that place. I need to get clean. I need to get back into recovery housing, and I need to find a different way. I need to try all them things that I didn't try last time around, and get them connections and then relationships with people, and have people around me who can sort of tell me when I need to change things and what I need to do, and be honest with me, and have my best interests at heart, and also know where I'm coming from, and having be addicts themselves. So I moved over to East Lancashire, moved into a recovery house, and short while after being in East Lancashire, I heard a guy sharing in a meeting, and I liked what I heard, and this guy made a lot of sense. So, and I knew that he was involved with the Challenge Through Sport initiative, which obviously I had that contact with before. So I instantly I got onto him and asked him about volunteering, and then I started volunteering at in Rosendale at the Boo Cafe, where the Emerging Futures in Glen Valley run like a cafe afternoon and then yoga at the end of it. And I started getting into the yoga, which is something I never could have seen myself doing. And I started attending them NA meetings that I wouldn't bother. Well, I said I would never spend the rest of my life doing, and stuff like that. And eventually through the volunteering and stuff, I got a job with Challenge Through Sport initiative, which I'm still in now, and I'm really enjoying. And it's nice to be able to get out there and give back that connection and that understanding and listening that I got from doing that sort of stuff. And also sort of like when I came around East Lancashire as well, I thought I'll have a look and see what this LUF is all about. And the first one I went to was down at the town hall in Accrington. It was a county one, so it was quite a big one. There was a lot of people about, and I've not been here long. And I met and connected with quite a lot of people there, and it was, you know, quite a few people I'd met in that period were doing their speaker boot camp, and I was there giving them support, and that cemented a few bonds with a few people there and stuff like that. And you know, it was and for me, and then I started getting involved and volunteering a bit, and then you know, a couple of people stepped down from the leadership roles, and I just kind of fell into the leadership roles, and it's something I've really enjoyed doing because the people I've connected with through doing it, and being able to organise a celebration of what people in recovery are doing, and like how people's lives have changed, and like to hear people. There was actually a guy from Acorn at our last one who shared some stuff around that sort of stuff that Karen's going to talk about, sort of child like abuse and stuff like that. And it's just like it's like, I don't know, it's almost like I wouldn't say an honor, it seems a strange word to choose, but like when you can create an environment where people can share stuff like that and be part of it, it's a beautiful thing. And that's a beautiful thing about recovery, if you can like be there for other people who've come from being in that position of desperation that you've been in, and help them and then see them grow. It's one of the best things that you can watch in the world. And like for me, the only way I can do it is with other people's help and with connection. And that's how I've done it this time. And that's the biggest difference between last time and the struggles that I had and the fact that I relapsed. And now the big difference is that connection, having them people around me, having relationships, having friendships, having fun, you know. And even like more recently, I've started with the 180 CrossFit project, which is like free CrossFit and, you know, personal development stuff as well for people in recovery. And, you know, it's things like that I really believe in, like fitness and exercise, and the power that has over your mind, but not just with endorphins and stuff like that, because that's what I used to think. It's just about endorphins, but it's like it's that challenging yourself and thinking, I'm never going to be able to complete that workout, I'm never going to be able to do that. And then when you complete it, it's rewiring. It's like rewiring your mind. And then when it comes to other things like my college work and stuff like that, that mindset and that attitude is starting to manifest itself in other areas. So where fear would have kicked in around that college work, and I would have put it to one side or procrastinated because I didn't think I'd be able to pass and do it well and actually achieve it, because I've shown myself on like a physical side that I can achieve these things I never thought I was going to achieve. It's given me that boost and that confidence as well to go on and do these things. And the challenges that I've faced at work and through volunteering roles and stuff as well have given me that. And having the people around you to support you through them things when you're struggling, and having the humility to say, you know what, can you tell me how I should be doing this, because I don't know. Do you know what I mean? And that's, I suppose, the biggest difference for me in my recovery this time. And I kind of feel like the reason I chose to speak about connection is because I've been thinking a lot lately about what's going to happen when this lockdown's over, and you know, when we start to feel the financial pinch from the government. It's going to be our cohort that's going to be one of the areas where funding's going to get cut, and we're going to struggle more, even more so than I think we have in the last 5 years or so. So I think that's only going to get worse. So we need to step up, I think, and I think there needs to be more peer-led stuff, and people need to be more innovative and put more energy into this stuff and really take the lead, because we need to sort ourselves out, because I just don't think. I think that we're going to get less and less off the government with what's going on and the effect on the economy that this is going to have. It's not guaranteed, but that's just sort of my musing on it. So I think we need to fill that gap with our experience and our energy and our passion. Terrible at remembering names, but the lad who read the poems has inspired me to share one of mine, so I'm going to finish on it. I can't see this is basically what I've been thinking about recently is why I've written it. Can't see myself happy not getting high, but I wake every day and just want to die. People who cared are pushed away. I can't find myself. I've got a head full of fear and a head full of pain. I lie and I cheat, manipulate and emotionally abuse. The daily denial is my attempt to refuse. I will never win. The drugs never lose. Trying to end it with a big shot of dope. Relief at my failure was my first sign of hope. Next for the daunting prospect of change. Self-obsession and fear has got me soberly deranged. Looking at all of the pain in my head, it's all due to perceptions and the thoughts that I've fed. Unlovable, loser, failure, big disappointment. My siblings made mum and dad proud. I'm just a letdown, a fly in the ointment. This is the past and is no longer true. I have a new way of life and dreams to see through. Just want to be at peace with myself and the world. Got to do the work. They said learn to feel. They said hurt to heal. I said fuck me, mate. Are you for real? Always had love but could never accept it. Always ran, always hid. Found ways to sabotage and reject it. Recovery has taught me love is the least I deserve, and not to embrace it would just be absurd. Thanks for letting me share.
Really good.
Thank you, James.
Thank you, darling. It takes a lot of balls and a lot of guts to get vulnerable when you come back from a relapse. That's what I'm hearing, that vulnerability is in there. Because to get humble, we spoke earlier today, didn't we? To get rumbled and humbled, you got to get vulnerable.
Yeah, man.
You got to get vulnerable and you got to connect on another level.
Man.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you mentioned the 180. I've got a shout out to the 180 crew, because the women do workouts and the guys do workouts, and the battle really is in the mind, isn't it, James?
Yeah.
You know,
man.
when you think you can't do them 50 more burpees, yes, you can.
Not everybody knows what 180 is.
So it's across. James, do you want to just explain?
Yeah, so it's just it's like a CrossFit. So CrossFit is a workout kind of, I can't explain it. So it's a style of workout, it's almost like a movement, you would probably call it. And then some people have took that and presented it to the recovery community with other elements, like sort of group work and stuff like that, and spiritual stuff. So they've added like spirit and mind to it.
It's like, because it's like the CSI have done the same, haven't they? Because CSI have noticed that there's a physical element missing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What's good about I see you, James? What's good about what I see there is James is learning from the 180 and passing it on the digital platform with CSI. You know, and I see you doing them workouts, and I'm like, go, James. You know, because I've just done it the day before, faster than you.
I think you're a perfect example of somebody who takes a little bit here, a little bit there. Yeah. You know, you're not aligned to one. You just, you know, it's all in it together, and it's great to see. It's really great to see. Have you got a present?
Yeah.
I have. There you, James. I want to present you this.
Oh, nice.
So you can have your fearless speaker badge on when we all get back to normal.
Yeah, I feel like as well, innit? It's like, to me, there's all these different things, and I've engaged with a lot of them, particularly on physical activity side, and there's different, you know, like, so, you know, CSI, you've got a multitude of different activities and different things you can do, and different people. and it doesn't matter whether you've got an ability level or, you know, you can come, you can go, you can miss a few weeks, you can return, you'll always be welcome. And then you've got sort of the 180, which is more of a 24-week set program, and you're encouraged to stick at it and complete it and this sort of stuff. And then also I'd like to give a shout out as well to Blokes United, which is a mental health football session in predominantly in East Lancs. It's moving out. It's getting funding to branch out further, and Wayne and the lads at Blokes United who run the Social Inclusion League and all that, there's so many people who will be sat at home with mental health issues on their Todd. So if you go onto Twitter and hashtag don't be on your Todd, that's what you need to do.
If you're at home now on your own and you need to connect,
and you love football.
Box.
Can I just come in? Yeah, I just want to give a massive shout out to James. I've known James for quite a while. I studied with him, and the progress that you've made, I just want to recognise that. But there's also quite a few comments in the section saying really brave. Yeah. So Andrew Michael said, the best thing ever is when all services work in partnership rather than competition. The landscape has changed massively. Yeah. We've got Jane Moody from CSI said you're a massive asset to the team. So well done. And she also said hello to everyone else on the show.
Hi, Jane.
Hi, Jane.
We've also got Peter Sheaf. This is one for you, Emma.
Hi, Peter. I love you.
He loves the Deidre ball or glasses.
Oh my God. They are, aren't they? Don't you dare start with me now. See what you started. Oh God, they are. Well, I'm okay with it.
Free Deidre, Pete.
Deidre ball. Forgot about you.
At least you didn't say olive off the buses.
No, well done, James, mate. You want to be proud of yourself.
Thanks, man.
Yes,
James, wow. It was fabulous to hear from you, speaking from the heart. And I think, you know, people underestimate the volunteer bit, because the difference, like you mentioned more than once, about connecting with people and people believing in you and making that difference. And there's parallels that I can identify, because there's a report that came from the government, a scoping report to do with county lines. And in it's talking about vulnerable young people and adults. But one of the significant things was about reachable moments, where there's somebody at the right time in the right place that can intervene and make a connection with you, and that could save you from going down that wrong route, or could make a difference in your lifestyle at that moment in time. And they talk about reachable moments. And for me, the key thing in that, in volunteering, is you're connecting with people, and sometimes somebody that can make a difference in your own self-esteem and how you feel about things. And it's small steps, but it's significant steps going the right way. And when I work with the youth service, we obviously work with young people, adults, families, etc. The volunteering projects that we did, again, partnership with a whole range of people, were superb, because they gave you skills, confidence, communication, loads of things. And I'm still believing in that now. In the work that I do now, I do work with volunteers and stuff. But it was really heartening to hear you talk about that, about those significant moments. And then, like you said, sometimes you fell back and you went wrong. Do you know what? Okay, because somebody somewhere was out there helping you along the way. And I think that was brilliant. And you just reinforced for me the value of us all working together. So thank you so much for sharing, because you were superb.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. On with the agenda. We're, as every single week, we always get right into it all, and we're not great at sticking to time, because every subject we're all so passionate and interested.
Yeah. And I do believe that you touched on something there, Karen, which is belief. And I always open up our training, or any training that I do, with, if you work in this field and you're a professional in this field, you've got to believe in the people you work with. Absolutely. And if you don't, get out the door. Yeah. Why in it? Because if you know someone, you know, I've known when people have believed in me, and I know when I believe in somebody, there's another level going on there, isn't there? And that is the connection that we're talking about. It's another level connection. So well done, James.
Do you know, it's an interesting point then. I want to ask Craig that question.
Yeah.
How do you do that in a police custody setting? You know, how does that happen?
How do you offer people a way forward?
Yeah, how can you believe in somebody when you find them in a police? You know, how do you do it? Tell us a little bit about that, Craig.
For me, when anybody comes into custody, our role is to find the needs and the vulnerabilities that people have. And the very nature of being in custody to anybody would kind of point out that there's a need and a vulnerability somewhere. So in that dark space of custody, we like to offer that person a way forward, identifying where the needs lie. So if it is a history of substance misuse, making sure they're aware of where the avenues of support are, and just letting them know that they are a person. We try and go in with no judgment, with no preconceptions, because I'm sure everybody's aware there's enough of that in society as it is. People already have a preconception that people with substance misuse, whether it's drugs or alcohol, they're probably not worth supporting. That's the difference we want to make, letting them know that as a team, as a service, as an individual, that we're available to that person moving forward as well. So our particular team will go into custody and we will meet individuals that meet that criteria. And there's innumerable ways to meet that criteria. You know, there's countless vulnerabilities. I mean, Karen's touched there on young people and the needs attached to young people. Then we've got people that have been in the military that may feel abandoned. We've got people that have got history of abuse, being victim, and also as perpetrators for one reason or another, that have an opportunity to recover from maybe that incident that led to arrest or the series of incidents that have led to numerous arrests. So knowing that there's an opportunity to step in there is vital. So for me, it's connecting, letting that person know that you can offer them support going forward and following through on that, which is where peer workers and support workers and my colleagues come into it and move forward, as well as the other services available in the area.
I've got a couple of questions for you, Craig. So I just want to give a massive shout out because I work alongside Craig in custody. And I must touch on this before I ask the questions due to the fact that the support that the team have offered. So I'm from Preston and I have got a criminal history. So when I went into custody, some of the police and the custody sergeants that from there, they looked at me and they were like gobsmacked, what's Glen Island doing in my police station? Which is understandable, totally get it. And it was just the fact that the support that I got from Craig, we was having a laugh about it in the office and the fun of it, he was saying, don't come in next week. He said, go stay at home and watch football. Because the fact that the support from that and all the team, obviously it got sorted out and we're still in there and whatever else, but it was just the fact that it was a new service. There were new things coming up, so it was like a pilot. So I just wanted to touch on that. So thanks for that, Craig.
Hold on, Glenn. Let's have a rewind.
Yep.
You went into the police station where formerly the police in there were used to arresting you.
Yeah.
Fast forward on, you're going in there with a lanyard on which says NHS.
Yeah.
So rightfully they're going, hold on, what's going on here? We know him, and he's a bad and he's a wrong, and we've locked him up.
The right, wrong.
So
yeah.
That must start to play with how they view people as well. That's got a plant.
It breaks down barriers. That was a key thing. I mean, myself and Glenn and Scott and Louise, we've had conversations. Scott and Louise are the other peer workers that work alongside Glenn in our service, and wonderful. What a difference they've made to overall engagement in the community. I can't speak highly enough of it. But again, in those early stages of RRose recovery, Glenn, Scott, Louise and Lisa coming to custody, there was a lot of resistance, there was a lot of negativity. And to combat that is to try and normalise people, make people be not just the histories, but this is Glenn now, this is Scott now, this is who they are. The history is there, but this is who they are. They're making changes, they're bringing themselves forward. and having a laugh with Glenn in a police station environment in the past that was oppressive and was something entirely negative. And seeing him in our office, he doesn't quite know where kettle is yet. That has to be identified. But being part of that team and contributing to it just shows how remarkable and how far people can come in a service. So I've got, whilst we're in the moment of saying thank you, I want to say thank you to Glenn for changing all these opinions. The battles are still going on. We still have to spread. We're currently piloting in Preston, but when it comes into Blackpool, when it comes into Burnley, we're still going to knock these walls down.
Absolutely, and we'll be right there behind you with a full team. And also, I just want to say Lisa Greeny, a massive shout out to Lisa Greeny, who has now moved on.
Yeah, she's gone into pastures new.
Yes.
I had a wonderful day with Lisa over in Leeds, and she really, really showcased what she's about and what recovery is about. It's remarkable. She's a big miss.
Beautiful people.
One of the things what strikes me, you can't put too much of an emphasis on this. What we all know is recovery happens. It's an inside job. Until I start to change the way I think and view the world, it doesn't matter what interventions you put. It's got to change on the inside. And you know, you can get the same result by coercing somebody into an intervention as you can by motivating them, but it's much more powerful.
Personal.
Addressing those thinking distortions by showing somebody Glenn. Because when Glenn walks around in that police setting and other peers start to see what that change looks like, what that positive, it becomes attractive and contagious, doesn't it?
I think for me, one of my biggest barriers is this, is the fact I'm wearing a badge, and I've worn a badge for so long. And I think I am fortunate that I've never been affected by substance misuse or alcohol abuse. I do have a personal history of adverse events, as many people do. But to be able to link with somebody that is in recovery and is having relapses or is waiting to achieve readiness to recover, to have somebody in our service like Louise, like Glenn, like Scott, and like Lisa, it's an amazing asset. And what it does, it takes away the lanyard, it takes away the service and makes us people.
That's that goes back to what I said at the beginning, which was take the hats off, let's come together as people.
I'm not taking this hat off, I've got a coronavirus haircut.
And can I just touch on there as well, and this goes out to the police as well, a massive shout out to the police as well, because I had to get cleared to work in the police station, so I had to go for an interview at Hutton Police Station at headquarters. And I was like, for about 2-3 weeks, I was nervous because I thought, there's no way in this world they're going to let me in. Not a chance in this world. I used to get lots up there. I know police in there. And I went there, and it was totally the opposite. The fact of the matter is, they said, we know you've got a past. We'll believe in you. We'll trust in you. And they give me that opportunity to be able to work in there. So I just want to touch that. Even though there was negative attitudes, which is understandable, I'd probably have them myself. The fact of the matter is they did let us in there, so a massive shout out to them as well.
Absolutely.
Got a top team there, Craig.
Say that again.
Got a top team.
We're very fortunate, and again, it's having people in the right mindset at the right time.
Oh, I meant our team.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's same again.
I've got some questions for Craig. So obviously we're in a different way of working because of the pandemic and COVID-19. So how was COVID-19 and working in custody and liaison and diversion? How are you finding that with the new ways of working?
It's been challenging. It's been different for me, and I'm sure it's been the same for my colleagues. We're very face-to-face people. Our role, obviously, you can understand there's a lot of paperwork and a lot of archives to go through, looking through records with obviously the relevant consent and such like to find out where people's needs lie. And in doing that, you build a picture, but very often that picture's coloured by meeting that person face to face. So when the coronavirus pandemic really kicked in, we tried everything we could to remain in custody. We tried to get as much PPE as possible. But as we know, frontline services needed that more. We weren't determined to need that much input, so we could offer a telephone service. So we started working from home, and working from home has its own challenges, as we've discussed. Little girls running around the place showing you dolls, and dogs wanting to go for walks because you're there all the time. We're working around that. It's been interesting. There's been a lot of things that we've learned about ourselves. We can do things in a slightly different way. We've instigated face-to-face communication with service users over a service called Attend Anywhere, which has been really successful. And again, putting that face to a record, to an incident, to a person, it helps, and it builds up a rapport. So we've had, what are we now, 7 weeks, 8 weeks out of custody. The first few weeks were very, very challenging. There was a lot of stress. As individuals, you know, we want to feel like we're contributing to people moving forward from a negative situation, and it's difficult to think you're doing that and achieving anything when you can't see it. Slowly but surely, we've communicated with the teams all across the county, recognised they're all having similar issues, and each time we talk, we found a new way of working, we found a new way of developing something and pushing forward, which when the new normal starts, we'll probably continue with. We'll probably use more technology. We'll probably work more creatively. I'm relieved to say that in the last week, as a team, we have returned to custody partially, and it's good. It's not where we want to be, but it's good. We're seeing people looking back at us, feeling where they're at, seeing the whites of their eyes, knowing when they need help, knowing what stage, where are they? Are they ready? Are they ready to engage in this? You know, so slowly but surely we've overcome these challenges, and obviously we're not quite out of it yet. We don't know what normal is going to look like, but with any service like yourselves, we have to adapt.
Readiness factor.
Readiness is key. Readiness. I've met people in custody that I've met many times before, and if I allowed myself to be negative, it would be very easy to be negative. But every time that somebody comes through that door, and every time somebody's name lands on my desk, it's a new opportunity, it's a fresh start. It doesn't matter if they weren't ready last time. They might be ready this time. This is the time. We can't allow people to slip through the net. We've got to give them that chance. And if we can introduce them to Glenn Scott, whoever comes next, then more power.
Yeah, and that's the believing in people, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And I think that's the part of it, is the fact that for me, it's not a us and them. It's we're part of that team. It's not a red rose and a liaison and diversion. And that's been the empowering part, I think, for me. And I think that one of my colleagues summed it up perfectly in the fact that they turned around and said, "I've gone from prison with a prison ID number and a badge to an NHS badge," and it just summed it up in one word: the fact that the progress that they've made due to the support from the liaison and diversion team.
But that energy's rubbed off on us as well, Glenn.
Sorry?
That energy's rubbed off on us as well, seeing the desire, seeing I mean, Scott, you know, the recovery Scott made in that time has been remarkable. I know he's not probably here I know what's going into much detail, but to see how far that man has come and what he contributes. And there has been successes as well with yourself and Scott, with a particular gentleman, which is the service in a nutshell, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, he is watching, so give him a shout out because he is watching on the stream.
Glad, Scott. Glad. Keep them press ups going, mate. Keep them press ups going. You're putting us all to shame.
We've got some other people watching. Sophie Smith and
hey, Sophie.
Susie. Big
hey, lady. Hey, lady.
Hi, Sophie, Susie.
And if you want to join the competition for that big box of sweets, you have to hit the share button this week. That's how you join in the competition. Hit the share button. Can I ask you a question, Craig, then? So
ask away, yeah.
You catch someone in the cell, just say, for instance, they've had a 3 or 4 day lie down and then they're released. The first thing they're going to do, by personal experience, is go out and use. So the risk for them overdosing at that point goes quite high, doesn't it? Do you give the guys this stuff, naloxone, or is it the nasal form? Like, do you have access to that, Craig?
As a service, we're not a prescriptive or an intervention service, so we can't give any kind of medication out like that. Our priority would be to link individuals like that have got those needs, have had a lie down, would be to make sure that they're being adequately monitored whilst in custody, making sure they're having access to all the healthcare that's required, and then doing everything within our power to make sure that appropriate follow-ups there. So, for instance, if we did have somebody who'd been in over the weekend and was waiting to go to custody, to court on a Monday or a Tuesday, they would be monitored throughout custody. If the release came, I would like to think that we would make sure that they were linked in straight away with the nearest drug and alcohol team to get access to that kind of input. We do have a colleague in our team we have leads, if you will, who can remind us of where specific services are based. And now again, having experts with experience on our team, our peer workers, again, it's reiterating where they can go for that. But unfortunately, as a non-prescribing, non-intervention service at that level, we can't.
We speak to Mr. Peter Furlong now.
I think, definitely it links in nicely because with COVID-19, we need to start having discussions around
peer-to-peer
naloxones. I'm just scanning some of the questions on here, and we've got lots of guys who are. So just shout out to Howard. We've got
Howard.
Joe, Dan, Lindsay. The guys are on the questions linking in. So we've got 48, 50 people watching now. If you hit that share button again, we'll reach more people, and you might be in the chance with winning a huge box of sweeties.
Or a pack of naloxone.
So thanks for coming on, Craig. Nice one for raising some awareness, Glenn, and maybe we get the rest of the team on to tell us about how that work's going in the future.
Just while we're on naloxone, Pete, do you want to give us a demo?
I could do. I've got a little kit here.
Oh,
What made earlier?
Like that one, innit?
Yeah.
So how does it work, Pete? Do you want to just walk us through what we do?
Well, the first thing you do is ring an ambulance, isn't it? That's the golden rule, isn't it? No matter what situation you find yourself in, if you think someone's overdosed, then it's 999. And there's some myths around that, isn't there, Emma, around what some people think and some fears around that still. Yeah. I mean, what the main fear is that the police are going to come and sort of people are going to get nicked. So the reality is the police won't attend unless they think the paramedics at risk or it's a death. So if it's a confirmed death, the police will come. But if it's just someone who's overdosed and it's someone who rings very calmly and reports an overdose, there's no reason for the police to be alerted and they wouldn't come. They'd only come if they thought like there was aggression going on, there was like people at the scene who could be a threat to the paramedics. So it's really important when you do ring up that you're very calm and measured and there's no like noise in the background like that could alert people to think it's a dangerous situation. But then you'd have one of these hopefully that you'd be carrying around. I don't know how close I need to get with this, but
yeah, we can see that, Pete. Yeah,
I call it 3 twists. So people start trying to open it and pick away at the cellophane. This hasn't got any cellophane on because it's a demo, but basically you just twist it, the 3 twists, and the twist, and it opens.
Chinese burn, innit?
It is like a Chinese burn, and inside you'll find your pre-filled syringe, which there's none in this one, but full of naloxone, and 2 blue heads. So then all you do then is you take one of the blue heads. Here's one. This one isn't open, so I haven't got my glasses on, but there we go. That's how easy it is without glasses on. You take that off, and then you get your syringe. And the second twist is you twist the cap off. And the third twist is you twist the needle on. And there you've got your syringe ready to go. Now I've got a little friend here to help me. I've got Ollie Orange.
Hi Ollie, welcome to the LUF Lounge.
Ollie.
So Ollie's been a bit of a silly sausage and he's been using alcohol and sedatives and his heroin. So what do you think's going to happen to Ollie? He's going to fall over. Then you've got Ollie's tucked them off.
Yeah.
So you've got your 3 filled syringes, you've done your 3 twists, you just take the cap off. Oh, wasn't twisted long enough. You just twist the cap off, then you've got your needle, and holding it a bit like a pen. To help Ollie, you just go into his thigh, and there it is. That's how easy it is.
So where else can you go, Pete? You
can go into the shoulder, any big muscle group. And if you go into the thigh, you just need to stay away from where the sciatic nerve is. So it's quite round the side of the thigh, not round.
Can you put that through clothes, Peter?
Right through clothes, go right through denim. It's very sharp. And people worry a little bit about the dosage, and it's 0.4, but on these syringes now you can see each dose is measured. So you just press it down, 1 dose, and that's all you've got. And then hopefully you take that out and put it back in its cradle, which is a sharp safe. And hopefully Ollie will come back away. But if he doesn't, then literally you just go back in again, back into the same area, into Ollie, and another dose, 1 more dose. And hopefully Ollie then. But when I first used it, I just went, whoa, and panicked. But that's not to worry. Ollie will just get a little bit more irate when he comes around if you give him it all. And he won't be very happy. So Ollie's never going to be very happy anyway, and he's never going to thank you. But what you've got to try and do with Ollie is get him to wait for the ambulance to come, because naloxone anyway works for 20 minutes thereabouts, and then Ollie is quite likely to go into overdose situation again. So what's that, Ollie? But you want to go and score. I know you want to go and score, Ollie, but you've got to wait for the ambulance. Yeah. So that's how mad I am told. I hope Mark Moody's not watching, because he'll think, what am I paying that man for talking to oranges on a Saturday evening?
Someone's just asked, can you administer naloxone to somebody who's overdosed on morphine?
Absolutely, yeah. Naloxone only works on opiates, so morphine's an opiate, heroin, methadone, buprenorphine, cocodamol, codridamol, all those morphine-based drugs it'll work on you.
What drugs are usually in the mix in a typical overdose, Pete?
So typically you're looking at opiates, as we've said, and then typically if people are using alcohol or other sedatives and a combination of those 3, that's where you get into your muddy waters really. So if people stick to the methadone, for example, and don't use anything on top, then they're unlikely to overdose. But if they start using more methadone than they're prescribed, and then maybe having a few cans, maybe black cans in particular, and then maybe any other sedatives, that's when you're in muddy waters and you're probably going to go over.
And just to clarify, naloxone only works on opiates.
It only works on opiates, but the thing to do if you come across someone who's overdosed, you can't do any harm by. So if it's a benzo overdose or a heart attack or someone's just collapsed, if err on the side of caution and use your naloxone, because you're not going to do any harm,
So we've got these nasal ones, and when we handed a box of these out at LUF, they never came back, and it was like, I'd love to see the most stolen product on, I'd love to see.
The most stolen product is nasal.
Yeah,
spray.
But if somebody isn't breathing, this question was asked, and I just want to put it out there. If somebody isn't breathing, what happens if you squirt that up the nose, Pete?
Still works. It still works, amazingly enough. Even though someone's not breathing, the way the spray works and goes into the nasal cavity and sinks in, it'll still work.
It goes into the bloodstream through the mucus, doesn't it? It doesn't go into the lungs through the airways.
It's very fast because it's going up there, yeah. So yeah, even if the person isn't breathing, that's the whole idea. It'll work, and it'll help bring them back. And we've used it once that I know of in a custody setting. So in one of our local prisons, the lead nurse used it on a man who was really struggling. 2 healthcare nurses were trying to bring him back, and he was really struggling, and he wasn't responding to oxygen. And one spray of the nasal spray, and within seconds he was back asking for his dinner, and he was fine. Yeah.
Brilliant. So how can we how can we reduce the harm then, Pete? Because I know Emma does some outreach, and when she comes home, she is emotionally broken, and I know it's not a new thing to.
That's because it's chaotic out there. It's like the Wild Wild West when you're front line.
Yeah.
And I just want to massive shout out to Kevin, who I do outreach with on a Friday, and CGL there, because you know, Kevin and I, we're out on the front line, and it is sometimes a case of a couple of minutes, you know, on the door, doing just what you've done then with that. And are you using with anybody? So instantly people are saying, no, I don't use, what you're on about. You know, we have to smash down that stigma. And as soon as you tell the guys, you know, we say, hey, it's Emma from Inspire, they relax because they think it's the police. You know, guys at the doors, like, wanting to box. But there's a barrier that comes down. And even in that hopelessness, if we can just be that bit of hope delivering this, you know, then I am giving 2 and 3 out if there's 3 in shared property.
So what other ways can harm be reduced, Peter?
Well, I think, you know, COVID's brought some certain challenges, hasn't it? Because historically we used to say to people, don't use alone, especially if you're injecting. But now we've had to sort of recant that advice a little bit, because we're saying to people that you need to be alone, really, and social distance, and unless you actually live in a household with another drug user, then that's different. So one of the ways I think we can reduce harm is getting people to come up with an overdose plan. So if they are living alone and still using, then an overdose plan is critical, really. And that's really, really simple. All it is about giving someone a spare key, and someone you really trust. So for me, it would probably be a cousin or a really close friend. And, you know, someone who knows you use, and give them a spare key and let them know when you're going to use, and maybe have a telephone check-in before and after with them. Yeah. So if you don't check in afterwards, they can, like, either alert for help or come and check on you with the spare key. So I think overdose plans now, something we talked about historically, but now with COVID and people isolating, I think it's more important than ever.
And that would be keeping the team up to date on that, wouldn't it? So the team have them conversations with the service users.
Yeah, definitely. I think the other thing that so Peter asked me about what other drugs are in the mix. We're hearing more and more now about illicit pregabalins and gabapentins that people are using. I think mainly in the northwest, are getting bought from Manchester, around the Cheetah Mill area, and there's a big risk with them because we don't know what's in them. You know, they're illicit, they're bought off the dark web or whatever. And I just think if people are feeling that they've got to use them on top, then come and talk to a treatment provider and tell us. You know, just be honest. There'll be no punitive action. And if you're having to use gabapentin or pregabs, then talk to a prescriber and they'll do something about it.
We have a relationship, don't we, where, you know, we can be dead real with each other, can't we?
Yeah.
So what happens? Because, you know, I was talking to a guy last week who's prescribed, but he's still using on top. Now, there's a lot of that, isn't there? Yeah. What if somebody hasn't got the communication skills to be able to have that conversation, and when they try, they get so frustrated and just end up saying, fuck it, I can't be arsed, and they continue to use illicit drugs and collect the daily, you know, prescription, which isn't probably optimal. What hope have they guys got? And, you know, can we say to them, we can have a look at you know, connecting you in with an advocate who can maybe act as a buddy to have those conversations on your behalf? Because I just think it's crazy if you, and I don't want to open up a can of worms, but I am interested to know if you've got somebody who's prescribed a certain
don't think it is
taking it and still using on top. What the rational response to that is, and maybe it's one to get prun on next week. And
I don't think it's a can of worms at all, because remember when your model the new U team first got put together by Lisa and Nikki and other people. When Prun heard about RRose and the service user voice workers, he was really keen for them to be advocates as well, and to have some training and to be able to get alongside people for the purposes that you're talking about, people with low confidence who are using on top, don't know to verbalise it, because the medics want to hear about it. The medics don't want to not hear about it. So I think it is about that advocacy. I think you're right.
Because and this isn't to say we want to, because some of them, I think they might need to say, we'll get you a bit more of it, not we'll get you less of it.
Well,
and I know
these are the honest conversations.
I know some people might go, what, has he just said that? I can't believe it. But
No.
if we use that to engage with people, then you can't get into recovery if you're dead. And I just think some people's lungs are deteriorating at such a fast rate. If we don't do something different with them, they won't be around for much longer. And some of these are like family members. We all know there are people, aren't there?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, as you know, COPD is one of the biggest killers, out there, really. So what we don't want is people using on top, whether that's smoking or injecting. So ultimately, if someone says to a medic or a key worker, look, I'm using on top and I'm just not getting what I need, that's like music to our ears, because what we want is someone at the optimum dose where you don't need to use on top, you don't need any extra sedation, and they can function and they can get on with the life. So yeah, as you say, there's no recovery in graveyards, so that's what I want. Oh, someone's at the door.
I know, we just let him back in.
Just let him in. Hi, Phil.
The doorbell's rang.
I think there's a conversation we can pick up around. I think this is a peer-to-peer and a lockdown thing. I think this is peer-to-peer advocacy as well. I think there's just something needs writing around this.
It's a way of reducing harm, isn't it? Also.
Yeah.
Well, COVID again. We just got the first group of people together, hadn't we? Some of the RRose guys were there in the east.
Yeah.
We were in the peer-to-peer training.
Yeah.
And we did one session and we had one more planned and then we were good to go. David Lucas had ordered the hoodies, they're there ready. He'd ordered the bags with the Naloxone champion on the back. And they're all sat there waiting, and then the lockdown come and we couldn't do nothing. So that doesn't stop us doing it. Peer-to-peer Naloxone is definitely the way forward. Yeah. In our storytelling service, it's thriving. And we've got 3, I'll give them a shout out, Pilkey, Lena and
the top people, aren't they? I was
over met them, haven't you? Yeah, and Jason, the great, and they've made a massive difference. They've made a massive difference. I think the refusal rate or the refusal rates come down something like 40%. Because I said to Jason, what's your secret? And he said, I just don't take no for an answer. If someone is using drugs risky and they're at risk of dying, it doesn't make any sense to say no. Whereas it's maybe professionals have like some type of boundaries that we don't want to breach, where they'll just keep going on until you have it. So peer-to-peer naloxone is definitely the way forward.
You're right. You're right, because the guys don't have a choice when we tip up at the door on Friday. They're having it. They're having two.
Yeah. You like it or not?
Yeah.
Thanks, Pete. Well, I think we'll have this as like
ongoing thing.
If you're up for it,
Yeah. Me and Ollie are happy to come. Look, Ollie's really happy there now.
Actually, look alike.
Yeah. Tell the difference. my head's redder.
I know. Yeah. But at least it's not orange. Red's better than orange.
It is. Most people in Liverpool are orange, but that's usually because of sunbeds.
You ever remember the Tango man who used to
run
off? Do you remember?
Yeah. You're trying to say I look like the Tango man, Peter?
Yeah.
But I was also thinking, it'd be great if we could get an Naloxone man on here, wouldn't it?
In his suit. George.
We don't know who he is. George knows him, though, apparently.
I think you need to get on here.
Who?
Piece of shit. He keeps making enough comments.
I was just going to say, when you held the orange up and I said it looks like you, I was still had in my head, and I look like Deirdre Barlow. I'm going to kill Peter Sheath.
He's a legend in his own lunchtime. We need to get him on.
We're going to have to get him on.
Pete, we want you on the show, mate.
Yeah, Grainy.
We're coming for you.
Grainy.
So we've got Dot Smith. Dot Smith tuned in all the way
Craig.
from Durham.
Hi,
neck of the
Dot.
woods.
Hi, Dot. Craig, Lisa's in the house as well. Lisa Graney. Over in, where even are you? She's like somewhere really weird.
Gone have a chatty away, hasn't she?
Middlewich. Where's the Middlewich?
Darren
Cheshire.
Campbell, man.
Cheshire.
Darren.
Okay. Is there any more questions on the locks, harm reduction? No, there isn't. But I think we'll keep this space open, Pete, and we'll just keep having a conversation around it.
Andrea Haywood, I feel your pain. Don't give up, giving up.
Yeah.
Loves the answer. And,
Oi. Okay, let's move on then. Let's don't look at that.
Okay.
Distracting on his phone.
I'm distracted with the comment section.
I need a little bit of love. So let's just bring our main man into the house and let's just listen to God's move. Mick.
All right.
Hi, dude.
You okay? Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah. So what I was thinking were, I just thought I'd chuck a little bit of Bible, like just a right little bit, and then just try and relate it to just ordinary life for 10 or 15 minutes, or my experience, or something along them lines. So just kind of see what comes up, because I think that what I've found is that the bits of stuff that I've read in the Bible, the first time I read it always related to recovery for me. Do you know, for me personally, I was like, whoa, yeah, that's what that's about. So there's a little bit in the Bible, and it says, judge not, lest you be judged. And then there's another bit just after it, and it says, before you try to pull out the splinter from your brother's eye, take the plank out of your own eye. I thought, ooh, blimey, what's that about judging people, all this? And I thought about recovery. I thought, ooh. And then it come to me, just a little story that, so I was early-ish in recovery, and I was picking some guys up to take them to a meeting. So I was supposed to pick 3 guys up. 2 of them I really liked, and 1 of them I couldn't stand. I really wanted to knock his teeth out. He was like, if you'd been to Tenerife, he'd been to 11 Reef. He just absolutely did me head in. I couldn't look at him. I'm like feeling sick inside when I was like, I just want to smash his face in. And he hadn't really done anything wrong. It was just me. I was still really, really ill. So I goes to pick the guys up for the meeting, and the 2 friends didn't turn up. He ends up in a car with the guy that I don't like. And we're driving a long way, and I'm driving. And he's going on and on and on, and he's giving it on. And I'm thinking inside, I'm just thinking like elbow him right in the face, you know, and I'm thinking, oh, and it's all going on. It's in my head, and my head's pumping. I'm only about 6 months clean, and I still hate the world and everything in it. I'm all right, but I'm not. I stopped the car, and I got out, and I lit a fag up, and he got out of the car, and he said, what's the matter? And I said, I can't stand you. I said, you're going on and on, you do this, you think you're special, and I proper give it him. And he just went deadly silent. Put the cigarette down, and I turned around, and he took his shirt off, he had a t-shirt on, he took it off. He's a big lad. I thought, oh, we're fighting. I thought it's a fight. So I took my shirt off outside on pavement, just coming into Blackburn, and he turned his back on me, and his scars all over his back. He'd huge burn marks on his back. He'd got lacerations that were all healed. And he turned back round, and he said, Mick, I can't help it. He said, I've been like this always. And he told me, and I was the first person he told. He said, I was systematically abused as a child in a children's home. I was systematically raped, and I was classed as a torture victim. And I'd only took myself into account in that situation, just me. I hadn't took him into account. And I felt ashamed of myself. I felt really ashamed of myself. But I were able to tell him that, do you know what? I was raped when I was 11-year-old. And I were able to tell him that I'd forgiven the person that did it. And we cried together. So we had two big lads with no shirts on in a rough area of Blackburn, with arms around each other, crying. And what happened was we became equal. There was no competitiveness. There was nobody above the other. In that moment, we was completely equal and we were the same. Judge not, lest you be judged. And these have been valuable lessons for me throughout my life, throughout my recovery. Competition doesn't work. Internal competition I'm talking about. It doesn't work when somebody does that and you do that and you do that, you do that. You get so high, you fall down, and it creates hate. There's nothing wrong with exposing unjust things that are unjust or speaking truth into situations. I'm not talking about that. But what happened was me and my friend came together like that, and we'd been there and there. In that moment, we came together like that. We're still friends. We're still close. But something happens in when you judge somebody else, because you don't know, you don't see the full picture. So I'd like to say God sees a full picture. It's like, you might have heard this saying, it's like a tapestry. You know, we just see the back and we see all the little pieces and the stitches, but God sees the full picture on the other side. It's kind of humbling to know that you don't know. But when you think you know, that's when you're going to struggle. So that little bit of scripture, so when I say scripture, it just means something from the Bible, comes from something called the Sermon on the Mount. And that's the basis of the 12 steps. That's where they were written. That's where it came from. That's, if anybody researches it, that's the fundamental part of what the 12 steps came from originally. It's no good just doing things in order, 1 to 12. You have to live and let your heart be softened and come alongside each other in your own pain. And I'd say to people out there, stop pretending you're all right, because you're not, and you know you're not. Become equal with your brother and your sister, and let's get well together. And thanks for having me on, and thanks for listening to me today. And that's the word for today. Until next week, the Sinister Minister. Thank you.
Thanks, Mick. We'll see you next week.
Beautiful.
You know, that brings us nicely into
synergy.
Nicola Crompton-Hill.
Karen.
No, it's Nicola Crompton-Hill now.
Sorry,
it's
yeah.
Nicola Crompton-Hill off the back of a DDN article where you were saying more or less the same thing. Yeah. You know, we've got to walk hand in hand with our partners, with our peers.
It's funny because I wrote a couple of things down when James was talking earlier about his story, and he talked about what helped him to get through that journey. It's exactly the same, whether you're an individual or whether it's working, whether it's an organisation, a service, or a company. It was some of the things he was talking around. it's almost a thread that runs through it, is relationships and connectedness, and actually being connected to people and forming strong, meaningful relationships. And I think I've been doing some reflecting since that DDN article, and I guess looking at what we've seen as not just a sector, but in our sector that we work in. And I think it's fair to say, I'm sure everybody will agree with me here, that actually the sector that we work in, whether in any drug or alcohol service, it's probably filled with society's most passionate and enthusiastic human beings. So actually the fact that we've come through this last few weeks so great isn't really that surprising. But actually it's interesting because when I first started working with Acorn, going back now 5 years ago, and you're a new person going into an organisation, I remember being faced with all of them telling me, we don't like change, we're no good with change, us addicts, we're no good with change. Actually, it's the only thing I'll ever disagree with them on. Actually, they are the best at change ever. And actually what I've seen in organisations such as RRose, CGL, Acorn, loads, I can't even begin to mention it. What I've seen over the last few weeks is almost this like emergence. And I was reading something that Leon had wrote from Chaos, and he'd said something about it's like we've risen.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Even further than we already have done. And I think I said to Pete on the phone the other night, it sounds dramatic, but we do dramatic, don't we? Yeah. And actually it's like the rising of the phoenix a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that's been really, really key to as all as we go, as we've been through, and as I think a bit of a challenge for us to think about as a sector as we move on, is like a bit of a controversial thing. And I think something that Pastor Mick's just said, Pete mentioned, everyone's mentioned it. All of the services that are talking today, that we work with every day, I think we've all got a little bit of fear about how we may come out of this, what it may look like, the landscape for us. But actually, I think it's fair to say, and I guess this is a bit of the controversial bit, but actually we rely on funding, commissioning to carry on and do all our services. And actually, I think the thing for me is that sometimes causes us to work in silos a little bit and protect our own. I work in the Calico group, and I have Acorn's back, Delphi's back, everybody in there. But actually, so sometimes it causes you to work. But I think what I've seen over the last few weeks is that sort of skin, that what I'm talking about, has fell off a little bit. So I've just seen people almost just become a collective, and we've literally just pushed through it. So we've lost that little bit of, it's just like, what can we do to make this better? What can we do to be successful? And I think some of the things, the words that I'd use, and I wrote them down before I started, were things such as brave, like the word of the night tonight, kindness, compassion. They're things I've really seen. And actually I wrote down vulnerability, because I think there's been something over the last few weeks where organisations have had to ask for help. You know, we've had to ask for CGL's help in our homeless services because of the COVID situation. Public health, we've had to ask for their help with things. They've asked us help. RRose recovery. So there's been something about a vulnerability and bringing us together. And so there's some really good examples there of how we've worked together. And I think seeing a strength in each other. So we've seen the strengths in each other. And I guess the challenge, and this is a bit of a challenge that I've been thinking about, is not how do we adapt to sort of the technology. I mean, the fact that I'm on a Zoom is amazing. And the quirky ways of working. but almost how do we ensure that, like, the transformation that we've gone through, I guess, over the last few weeks, how do we keep that going?
Just going to say, you're so on my page, girl. You are.
How do we keep that going?
It's keeping hold of that camaraderie, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so easy to go back into our, isn't it?
And this is why you need community leadership.
Yeah.
Change agents. That's what we're going to call them.
All right. Okay.
That's it. And this is like, no, you are so on point, Nicola. Everything that I mentioned in the beginning and all the way through, you just rounded it up nicely there around rising up. And that's how we opened it up. It's time to rise as leaders in the community. The time is now.
I know. I identify a lot with that, and in our pursuit to embrace this new way of working, we then was like, oh, how are we going to make sure we do it safe? You know, who's the best at doing things safe? And everything I've asked for, when I've got in amongst people, they've only been too willing to help.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Policies and guidance. Everybody's been forthcoming with intellectual property to say, here's how we do it.
Like, why didn't we work like that before?
I guess that's my point. That's exactly my point. Emma, you're right there. We've had people ring us up. We've been on the phone to Public Health. We've been on the phone to CGL. And actually, there's something in that, isn't there? It's actually, that's what's got us through and made us really successful at that. So how do we continue? How do we harness that strength and carry it forward? And there's only us who's got the answer to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the community, tell us what you think.
Yeah.
Get your comments box.
There was an article in The Guardian, I sent it round to a couple of our guys, where mutual aid type self-help community activists had all banded together. People with a social drive had all banded together in huge numbers in different parts of the world for different instances. So it talked about Gandhi, you know, different times where lots of people have mobilised to be the change they wanted to see. And the common denominator was they all had a single goal to achieve. So COVID-19, everybody agrees we want to, you know, keep our community safe. We want to get through this. It's a cause, isn't it? It's a unifying cause.
Can I just come in there? You've got other people echoing you there, Nicola. Sophie, I echo what Nicola is saying. I think the key thing here is that as a collective, we need to be influencing positive changes to commissioning nationally.
Absolutely.
Local commissioning.
Absolutely.
To the challenge, and for policymakers, it is time for change. I've just said that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's like a jigsaw. Me and Pete were talking on the phone the other evening, weren't we? And I was saying it's like a jigsaw. But we've all got that jigsaw won't be complete without all the pieces in. And you're, whether you're a volunteer, one of our service users, whether you're a stakeholder, actually, once all them pieces fit together, you've got the complete picture. But we sometimes tend to all work on our own and actually bring it together, and it's powerful.
It is.
Do you know, it's a beautiful analogy, because I don't know anybody who, in the right mind, who would get a piece of the jigsaw and go, do you know, I don't like the way that's shaped, I'm going to throw it away.
Yeah.
Just wouldn't, would you? Because you know somewhere that's going to fit perfectly.
Yeah.
And I just think there's something around that, because when, I know you're looking at me like that, but I know when you came through, within 5 minutes, when we was talking about, you went to a graduation, didn't you? And I thought you was a staff member, and you was actually graduating. You know, she talks about the beige suit that some people remember me wearing, and it was a beautiful beige suit, and I've still got it, and it might resurface out the wardrobe again.
It won't.
But what I'm saying is, you didn't tip up with a file of facts and a computer.
I was mental.
was not a polished article, but we seen that you had a purpose to fit somewhere. And, you know, I think there's something about where we were identifying people who don't fit in the traditional like spaces, and we embrace them and find out where, because when you get a piece and you don't quite know where it goes, you get some other pieces as well, don't you? And eventually, I love that analogy about the jigsaw.
It's finding a way, isn't it? It's not a tick box. It's finding a way forward. And we just need to keep hold of that over the next few months.
We do, and that's good.
Sector.
Yeah, Bob Brown says, love the passion, Nicola. Big shout out to Lynn Sutter, who's doing an amazing job in SCEM. Lindsay Jackson agrees. I just totally took over what Glenn was doing.
And you took the whole screen as well. I'm getting smaller and smaller in you know, it's like, I don't mind.
Sorry.
Brilliant.
I echo what you say there, Nicola, and it is about keeping it, and this is what I mean about having to work in a different way. And we're out of the sprint now, we're into the marathon, aren't we?
Yeah.
You know, it's about a nice pace, you know, we've
Yeah.
done the sprint, so let's just pace. But
Absolutely.
I was talking to Peter earlier, Emma, and I was saying I'm a little bit sad that nothing's ever going to be the same again. But you've also got to look at the positive, that what's good that's not going to be the same again. I'm sad that I can't have exactly everything the way it was because I'm a traditionalist and that's my whole life and I want it back again. However, our organisation, as Nicola's saying, other organisations are saying it can't go back to the way it was because we've learned so much over the last couple of months because we've had to. And I think for me, it's like you have to pull me kicking and screaming into like a new way of working. But once you're in it, you're in it, aren't you? And we have learned so much. And while we were, I mean, to be fair, when Mark Moody took charge and we had different leadership and Sue Short sort of changed jobs and we had this executive, the message I got was stop protecting everything, just give it away. And I think now it's pushed us further into that comfort zone of giving everything away. And the more we share as a sector, it's got to make more sense, because why protect our little bit? Because if you're good at your little bit, you don't have to be worried about it, and just you'll get better working with others then.
My motto's always been the most dangerous phrase in the English language is we've always done it this way. Things change, things have to change.
Absolutely, Craig.
Absolutely.
And that brings me back round to the word of the evening, brave.
Yeah. Brave.
Okay, I'm conscious we're getting a bit behind, and we've still got Karen, who's also got a big picture of a cat staring in the background. Nicola, thanks
Nikki.
for coming on.
You're absolutely welcome. Privilege.
I love your comments. Hit the share buttons, and will you come back on again in a few weeks and tell us, Nicola, how you see, you know,
I've saved your name on your number now, Pete, so I know when to answer or not. So when you ring me next time and said I've got an opportunity for you, I know really you want a favour. Absolutely, I will. No problem.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you.
Keith, I'm gonna have to go. I've got to go and keep my mum's tea. So.
Oh, we love you, Peter.
We'll catch up
Thanks,
with you
guys.
soon.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Never walk alone.
All the way.
Can I just come in? 1 minute, a shout out. Dan Little Child, or on Dan Little Child, just put a comment on saying, can you give the shout out for the people that just completed the leadership program with the HMRC and different partners and Red Rose Recovery? So a big shout out to them that have completed that. They completed it yesterday. So
well done. Well done.
There's a lot of love arts coming in for Nicola. Nicola, you've got a lot of love in the community. Okay, Karen, thank you for being so patient. Welcome to the Live LUF Lounge.
Thank you.
You're going to talk to us a bit about
opportunity.
I know. Well, you've got some opportunities for training. Our guys can access some of the workshops you're talking about. But tell us about CAT.
Okay. CAT. It stands for Child Sexual Exploitation Awareness Training. And I know I'm cheating a bit with the acronym, but you know what? I don't care. I deliberately chose the logo of the eyes and the cat symbolism because my strapline is, don't trust luck to keep children and young people safe. Yeah. And for me, that's a few things, because sometimes we assume we think we know it. Sometimes that's not the case. So let's not rely on everybody else to pick the pieces up. There's a few things I want to go back on, though, before I continue with sort of the future bit of opportunities. The Reverend shared the connection with him and that guy and how they met and they shared their pain and their abuse as children. And that can be something that's quite significant for people that as adults haven't come to terms with perhaps abuse, particularly sexual abuse, because of how powerful and how painful and personal it is, and might not have come to terms with that. And then as an adult, it manifests within mental health, within abuse, drug-related abuse, or on sexual behaviour, whatever. And the government have the last 4 or 5 years looked into some of adult abuse that's been oppressed and not been dealt with, and people have kept quiet for 20, 30, 40, sometimes 50 and more years. And they've looked into sort of cases. The project's called the Truth Project. I'm not going to go into detail now because now's not the appropriate time. But my point of sharing is that there may be people as adults now that have got issues of abuse that you've actually not dealt with and that you need support on. I am not a counsellor and that would not be my role, but I would just advise you strongly to do something about it, because it never goes away. And until you deal with it properly and address those demons, it can churn away and eat you. I met a guy, I meet lots of people in this work that I do, and he's 50 something now. And he told me about how he was abused as a child when he was 12 years old by Barry Bennell. You may have heard of Barry Bennell. He was a prolific coach within the football scene across Manchester, Cheshire, Liverpool. And his job was to find the talent, the young talent that was out there. And we're talking the sort of 70s, early 80s. No, even younger than that, maybe, whatever. Point is, a while ago. He abused 4 or 5 young people that came out when they were adults. And these 5 or 6 young people disclosed. And as I say, as adults, what came out of that, again, it's a long story, I need to cut it short, was it grew to 30, it grew to 60. It's over 100 young people that have come through, because Barry Bennell was a prolific sex offender in Lancashire, in Cheshire, and also in America. He's serving time now for over 30 odd years. But the young guy that I met, 50 something when I met him, had been abused, didn't know that it was abuse till a few years later as a young teenager, then started to realise what had happened to him. At that time was when some of the issues were emerging about Barry Bennell, and his mother turned to him and said, you know, if I thought something like this had happened to you, I couldn't live with myself. So what does he do? He says nothing. So for 30 odd years, this guy didn't say a word, and it affected every element of his life. His family life and relationships, his upbringing of his children, his own self-abuse, his alcoholism, his depression, his mental health, because he was completely oppressing it. On the day after his mother's funeral, he went to the police station in Cheshire and disclosed and reported, and then it went from there. I thought that was really important to share, because there are connections, like we were saying earlier, there are connections with mental health, with abuse, with sexual abuse, with drug abuse, and they connect. And it's about how we deal with them and take those positive steps forwards. I'm just going to pause a minute because I've said quite a bit there.
It is a heart language though, isn't it? It's like we was talking before about another level.
Yeah.
It's that interconnectedness that one person identifying with another has. The therapeutic value of that is priceless. Yeah. You can't buy that stuff. Comes with
the other side of, thank you for that comment, thank you. The other side of what I'm about to do today is an opportunity. And yes, like lots of businesses, COVID has dramatically affected my business. I work with training. I work at different levels with child sexual exploitation awareness training. So I work with social workers. I work with people in children's homes that have got young people who have been abused, are facing Crown prosecution, have been victims and are recovering. I've worked with parents and carers, I work with professionals, whatever. my work is about being interactive and people participating in the training. So that face-to-face work for me is crucial. So I've had 5 months and more completely obliterated and been put back to September, October, who knows. And it's forced me to think in a different way and to look at social online training, which is good. So I'm doing my first one in a couple of weeks' time. I also work for Talking Life organisation and Bernardo's. And again, that work has been affected with coronavirus. But it's, again, the opportunities come through to do some social media online. And I thought, do you know what? I'm not going to wait for these guys. I'm going to look at it myself. Yeah. And I'm not the world's best IT woman. God help me. Anyway, so I've started and I've created a short, about an hour's worth, called, for obvious reasons, about social media. Social media, because of the coronavirus, we know young people, children and young people are accessing social media more and more for their schoolwork, for academic, for research, but also for fun, for entertainment and connecting with friends. It's extremely important that they use social media to keep that, to develop their identity and their profile. And especially as teenagers, that's crucial that they connect with peers. But unfortunately, perpetrators out there know that social media is a form and a platform where they can reach young people. And unfortunately, the statistics show that there is an increase year on, this is an increase. It's fast, it's efficient, and it can happen very, very quickly. And abuse can take place without sometimes the young people realizing it. So I haven't gone down the abusive route in the main with this piece of work. What I've done is aimed it at parents and carers to do with social media, the do's and don'ts to keep your child or young person safe. Now, there has to be, of course, a bit in there about what is CSE, which is your child sexual exploitation. How is social media making somebody vulnerable? But I've made it an hour's worth. And I've done it a couple of times to colleagues and friends saying, what do you think? Give me some feedback. Yeah. And I'm offering that as an opportunity, really, because I'd like, if anybody's interested and would like to be part of a practice run through, let me do it. Let me deliver it to you through Zoom, get some feedback, and then I can shape it, because that to me will be a piece of work that would go out to be a paid piece of training. But it's an opportunity because you as a parent or carer or grandparent or grandfather might want a bit more knowledge about social media, might want to get your head around this CSE bit, or just might want to see my training and see what works and what you think. So that's an offer I have, really. What do you think?
Oh,
that's brilliant. And if you want to take Karen up on that offer, then just go into the comment section, drop your name, and our guys will pick you up. And Karen's already sent through her details, so we've got them in the room.
Yeah, just on that, on my details, I've done a one slide on PowerPoint, and then also there's an A4, which is a little bit more about me, of where I've come from and all the rest of it. But there's a free film in that. Also, you can find it on my Facebook, which is dead easy. It's not Karen Livesey, because nobody finds me that way, but it's the Child Sexual Exploitation Awareness Training Facebook. And there's a free film, and I created this film on the back of a project I did with Preston Community Safety Partnership. They supported me to work with volunteers. And over a 6-week period, I worked with volunteers for people to get their head round, what does CSE mean? Why are children vulnerable? What can you do as a person in that community and as a volunteer to see the signs, to have that early intervention? And again, we're back to the connecting and the volunteering and the power of developing and feeling very positive about something that you can offer as an individual person. I think it's tremendous when you actually doing some good, when you do a feel-good factor that makes you feel good. So this piece of work, basically called No Whispers, ran. It was very successful. I won an award from UCLan from it. We created a 20-minute film, but I also created a 4-minute film, which sort of raises awareness, and it's free. It's on my LinkedIn, so I want to just share the word and spread it about. The future plan for this. Oh, sorry, go on. We'll
connect you in with. There's a couple of colleagues who are developing and implementing a peer-led support network for people who've got histories of child sex exploitation, who've been abused. And I think it'd be really great if we make that connection to say, look, there's a resource here for some of your guys. Karen's willing to put on some training. I think you guys I'd really connect well. And if we can support you to draw down some resources or tap into some resources, we'd be really happy to do that as well.
That would be wonderful. That sounds exciting. And you're right, because there's a complementary bit there, isn't there? And yes, I'll be very interested in that.
I've got histories of it, Karen. Lots more and more people are coming forward.
Absolutely.
Now.
I know one of my friends works for the government, works for the Truth Project, and she was saying it's coming through. The good thing about the Truth Project is, one, to be able to signpost and support that individual, because that's the top priority. But two is the government looking into where this abuse has taken place, children's homes, church establishments, particular organisations, and them investigating and looking into that. The difficulty.
Interesting point. You know, it's not just the people who've been abused who are going to struggle with that. It's also the people who've been around them when that's happened.
Yeah.
How you know, it's a lot of mopping up, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a lot of
And what the Reverend was saying before about not judging, when I first set out doing this training 4 or 5 years ago and stuff, I thought I knew my audience, and I've learned now to assume nothing, because there will highly likely be somebody in that audience who either has something current or past or a connection to, and 99% of the time there's at least 20-30% in the audience that have something. Now you could argue, well, I'm delivering, you know, of a sexual exploitation nature, so it's inevitable. But no, not necessarily, because I've given lectures at UCLan with sort of some of the teachers and social workers, and yet the students that come and talk to me. I did a workshop for on employability, about positive self-esteem and all the rest of it. And the trigger for this young 60-something, this guy, trigger for this guy was 13, because that reminded him that he was 13 when he was sent to a children's home and was systematically abused in this children's home at the age of 13. So that was doing an interview employability course. So I assume nothing now. The other thing I wanted to say, which is totally pertinent and relevant, is county lines. Yes, my focus is children, and remembering that children go up to the age of 18, because sometimes we forget that. Primary, junior, secondary are all children. But the county lines business model is affecting our country nationally. So yes, there is exploitation of children and young people getting involved in these organised crime gangs, but also there's vulnerable adults. You've probably heard of different situations in different parts of the country, but it is happening everywhere, whether it's a city, a town, or the seaside area. And as adults, you can be vulnerable in lots of different ways. Without realising it, you can get hooked in to the gang situation where you get asked to do favours, they escalate, there's criminal activity. The consequences can be quite dire. We're talking violence, extreme violence, and sometimes death. Also, there's the cuckooing, where your property can get taken over. Yes, and like the cuckoo bird, I'm sure you know this story, but I'll tell you if you don't. The cuckoo bird lays its eggs in some other bird's nest, very lazy bird, and the cuckoo bird flies off, leaves this egg for the mother bird of another bird to hatch it and look after it. And the cuckoo bird, when it hatches, it kicks the other birds out the nest. In fact, it does it when they're still eggs. So this cuckoo bird dominates the nest, takes all the goodness of this surrogate mother. Thank you very much. And same in cuckooing in the drug-related situation, that these gang leaders will come and take over a property of a vulnerable adult. Yes, that property might be used as a base. It might be used as setting up the drugs, cash dealing, or preparing the drugs. But that adult is very vulnerable. And that adult might be somebody with particular learning difficulties, might be an adult that's vulnerable in lots of different ways, might be an adult that needs something. And we all need stuff, don't we, in things in our life. Sometimes it's cash, sometimes it's possessions, sometimes it's somebody helping me pay the rent, sometimes it's love and attention. It can be lots of different things. And over my experience with this work, I've met so many different victims and gang leaders and people involved in county lines, and again, assume nothing, because it's right on our doorstep. So as an adult, I would just, my passion this afternoon is to say to you, if there are things happening that you're not happy about or you're not so sure about, I would trust that sixth sense and seek advice and support, because they are clever, very clever.
And just on that, if you are experiencing any of them issues, you know, we will signpost you to the relevant organisation. So you can touch base on our website, you can connect in via Facebook. Our guys are in the comments. So if you touch base with us, they'll forward you on to the relevant, or signpost you to the relevant agency.
There's
Okay.
a question that's coming for Karen.
Mhm.
Bear with me. Alex Campbell, Karen, do you link in with the Amy Winehouse Foundation?
I know of the Amy Winehouse Foundation, and when I was a youth worker with the service, we looked at that because it's brilliant. It's a very good piece of work. And do you know what? No, I haven't done recently. Does she think I should? Would be my question back.
Do it. Just do it.
I think so. Yeah, and also just you've got
Thank you. Go on.
You've got some comments in the stream saying that they'd like to set you up on your offer regarding the training. So if anyone wants to do that, they can contact me or anyone on the stream. And
is that the way of doing it, Glenn? To contact you directly?
Yeah, they can do. If they can put it in the comment section, or they can contact me directly. I'll put my phone number on the stream.
Fine. It's going to be a Zoom media, so that's what I would do. People have the choice, just let me say it now because it's relevant, of whether they want to show their face or not. I won't be recording it, that's quite important. And as I say, I will do it as a presentation, Q&A at the end.
A waffle stick at you to like, because we're short for time.
Sorry.
We're trying. Glenn, can you link her in with Rose Latham and the Brick Fund and guys like that? Can you be the conduit for that?
Yeah.
Karen, we love your passion.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We want to support you. It's a piece of really worthwhile work.
Just on that, can I just say, Andrea Hayward has said my mum used to call my ex a cuckoo. Thank God I was brave enough, yes girl, brave enough to walk right out of there. Good on you, Andrea, woman after my own heart.
And we've got Alison Kershaw who's watching. Alison, can you link Karen in with Rose Latham and those guys, because the work joins up.
Oh yeah, Danielle said she attended your course last year and it was really informative.
Who was that, sorry?
That was Danielle.
Oh yes, Danielle, yes. Wonderful. Hi Danielle. Oh, thank you.
Guys, we've come to the end. Phil, have you got...
In the house.
Phil's in the house, man. Have you got a piece of art that you can just...
Kick out of the room with?
And close off the live lounge this...
Not really.
Not remember when you wrote one for me?
No.
Oh, it must be in my head. I must have made it up.
Lots of people write you. Anyone who comes into contact with you ends up going away writing your poetry, don't they?
No.
Yeah, well, I wrote some lines. So I remember I mean, that's what I do when I get inspired. I wrote some stuff. I remember your name rhymed with another lass that I was doing the life coaching with. Emma Daggers, Gemma something. Anyway, I don't have anything, to be fair, because all my pictures are a bit long. Shall I? And just let you all switch off. Just really quickly, Karen, I've grown up in 2 kids' homes, and it's rife, all the stuff that you talk about, and I'm glad you mentioned, Peter, that it's the other people that are affected by it as well. A lot of ex-girlfriends, it's rife, and not enough people talk about it. And then also in the madness, there's a lot of people there who don't, I wouldn't know where to signpost people. So at least we do now. So nice one. Good on all of you. All right then, yeah. Soul pirates, yeah. They rob I. They stole my lyrics and sold them for flesh. Thought that was all that I had left for inspiration. Stranger, please. In the beginning, there was imagination. Word to the birds, bees, trees, and their seeds as we go from beyond Back home, we belong and long to boldly, guided and bided, still undecided. Why not I did, only get binded by an highly scientific business plan. Till I'm between the lines like a boulder burn. As I get older, learn how to bounce off and balance on both shoulders of giants and the baseline. Where the mind wills, the windmills your waistline. Time waster, taking you by the hand to the heartlands, where the answer is the quest we're on. Be boys and be girls, welcome to a brave new, wait for it, don't drink their water. Home is where this half-paced artist's intention to mention memory and muscle. And cause you can forget the hustle, cause what's in the game? We must maintain photo focus, as above falls, so below grows. Singing isn't like brilliant, yo. Coming from the cold, cause wars are for soldiers. My cat's just come in as well. Should leave it there.
Thanks, mate.
What one is that?
Right,
Brilliant. Brilliant, Phil.
Oh, nice to meet you all.
Brilliant, that.
Yeah, so listen, I just want to say I love you all and love each other. That's what it's all about, this, isn't it? It's all about love. It's love. So we love you all. Any last words from Glenn?
On the spot, put me on the spot. I weren't ready for that, but never mind. I just want to thank all the guests for coming on. Like I've said before, it's a great platform to reach out to the vulnerable and the people that need the support. So I just want to say thank you. And the fact of the matter is as well, there was a guy that's just commented saying that about support while COVID-19 has gone on. So it is Joe Duffield. So I've put my number in the comments. If you want to contact me or anybody wants to contact me, I will inform you of the support that's going on in the community. And if it's in other areas, I'll signpost you to them as well. So anybody can contact me to offer that support, because I know that we offer support in virtually in the east, the north. So I can give that information for you.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you, guys. So
okay, guys, over and out then, yeah?
what we're going to do is find a winner for the share. Whoever shares it, you can still share it up till Monday, up till Tuesday, and we will pick a winner. And next week we'll tell you who the winner is.
Whoa, till Tuesday? They'll be gone by then. They'll be gone by then.
All right, well, you're the gaffer then. You decide. But
My kids will have took them by then.
There'll be 5 left then. There'll be 5.
Stay blessed.
Stay
Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye.
Thanks very much.